sitting down here with Drake. Drake, how are you?
I'm doing well, Mitch. Excited to be here.
Well, thank you for being here.
Yeah, I've listened to
Um,
episodes. It's really entertaining. So
oh, well,
excited
thank
to be
you.
here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the boys were talking about on the last episode how to say your last name. Anderson was kind of in and out. Going on about how he thought he should know it. Is it Ducham? Ducham? Ducham?
The funny thing is out of all the ways that Brian and Avery and Anderson have said it, you are the closest. It is Dusham. Yeah.
Ducham.
So I'm a bit of a mutt on my mother's side. They're all from Mexico, but like my dad is Irish, German, French,
See,
Canadian, and so it's like his side of the family came north from Canada into the upper peninsula of Michigan and then down to the lower Michigan. And then when they to the United States, it used to be Duchamp with a P at the end. And then when they came to the US, they dropped the P. So it's
right.
Duchamp.
See,
Yeah.
that's why I said Ducham because usually I see it with the P at the end here in Canada, and I've noticed some Duchamps or Du.
Mm,
Now I'm saying it wrong, but I've
yeah.
known, and and then when I saw that, I said, well, Ducham, like to me, that's a Canadian or Montreal name to me. But so there you go. There is still a little
There you go.
Canadian on the film vault.
And
That's
that
awesome.
makes and that makes perfect sense as to why your pronunciation was so close and so accurate. Because
I
I've got my whole life with it being butchered, so it doesn't bug me either way. So if
right.
Anderson never says it right, I don't really
I have
care.
the simplest last name. It's like so like people will even look at me and they'll I was at the doctor's the other day and they're like Burns like Burns and I'm like how else would you
Yeah.
spell that? I don't know. But no, that's awesome. That's awesome because I know back when I first started to work for the guys, I was Canadian and Jordan Wolf started working for them and he was Canadian and they were
Uh,
joking about the Canadian takeover, right? So and
yeah.
then we left and you're working now with it's yourself and then Goose the
Yeah.
Goose
Mike Cole and
and Michael.
Peter, or he goes by Goose. Yeah.
Yes. I actually it's funny because when I left, I reached out to Peter and I'm
Mm.
hoping to have him on this season because I reached out and I said, "Hey, I'm leaving. I remember you had said a while ago you had interest in helping me, so just wanted to put that
Yeah.
out there." And I see with how much work you are putting into the show. Um, I'm glad you have the Goose and Cole because man, you are really rocking it. The site looks
Oh,
amazing. The
appreciate it.
work. I don't even know how you do that. Like I feel like I want to sit there and take like a course from you. Like you could teach that. Like with what you're
Mhm.
doing is just incredible. Like and if anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, go over to the Film Vault's Instagram, Facebook, the videos he does, the things. It's awesome and everything just like is so streamlined and looks I know I hate getting compliments too, but everything is just looks so streamlined and similar and perfect.
Uh,
It's amazing. I'm glad I left.
oh, geez. So that was, I was standing in my kitchen. I was making breakfast for my kids, and I was listening to the episode where it was the announcement that you were departing. You're moving on to other things, uh, and I literally like stopped the episode and was like, "Oh, I'll just shoot off an email, and this is what I do. This is what I would like to do because I've listened to Film Vault for as long as I can remember. Like
Yeah,
from the days where they had that like blue and tan logo, like
yeah,
you know, it's what over what 14 years ago or something crazy like
exactly.
that.
I think that's about me
Um,
too. Yeah,
yeah, and I was like, you know what I had been doing is during that time for like that whole 14 years, I was in recruiting. So I would help like hire people at all sorts of different companies from the
okay,
healthcare space to the tech space. And so I'm the guy that, everyone in my family and extended family are like, "Hey, I've got a resume. Can you take a can you take a look at this?" And
that's
I was like,
awesome.
"Okay, that's great." And then like 2 years ago, all big tech were doing those massive layoffs. And so my company that I was with let go of like 3,000 people all at once. and I was like one of them.
Oh
And
no.
what had happened was I was in like the most cushy spot I could be in, and I had done everything I ever wanted to do in
Yeah.
recruiting. Um, and so I was like, you know what, let's completely pivot. And I've always wanted to do something in video editing or something in the more creative space. I've loved to draw, love to do videos. And then when that episode hit and popped up, I was just like, hey, you know, for the last like 6 months or so, I've been working on all these different cool, fun editing tricks. You guys are looking for interaction, and that's what recruiting is like reaching
Yeah.
out to people, getting engagement. And so this might be a good way for me to kind of like jump in, and I'm trying to build a resume, and why not do it with a show that I really like, because it's like
Yeah.
that's there, so I'm not going to be completely out of left field with hopefully the style of the show or the sentiments of the show.
Yeah.
But it seems to be working really well. It's hard to get feedback in live time from folks on those socials, but overall, I'm not getting too many complaints.
Well, that's it's almost a thankless job. Like, I mean, the people who you work for, obviously Andy and Brian and Avery or whatever, like they'll say, "Oh my God, thank you," but you know, like when you're putting out there like, "Oh, this and that," people just comment. They don't necessarily say, "Oh my God, this is amazing, Drake, you're doing a great job." It's something you just kind of do every week.
Yeah, and I enjoy
Or
doing it. It's like a fun little experiment I get to try each week, and so I switch it up, but without switching it up too much. But if there's something I'm curious about learning on Premiere or anything like that, it's a great excuse to play around with it and then
yeah.
put it towards the show. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, no, you're doing a great job, and I think everybody would definitely agree. You were at the live show, right?
I was, yeah,
Yeah.
I was there. That was a
Yes.
lot of fun. And so it was cool to see a bunch of people that I had just heard their names on the
Yeah.
show, and to sit in an auditorium and watch a bunch of fun clips. Um, that was a great show. Yeah, I
Yeah.
liked it a lot. I was bummed you couldn't make it, but you know, it was you were there in spirit, definitely. Was
Yeah.
it your brother or your cousin who was down there? Forgive me for forgetting.
Oh, no, it was one of my good friends, Eric Holmes. The one
Oh,
that took
okay.
the
There you go.
yeah, he took the video of, I think, of you and Florence and everybody saying hi, which was really sweet.
Yeah.
I posted it on my Instagram, so maybe I'll post it someday on the Film Vultures. But yeah, I was bummed. I was super bummed. I've like this year
Mhm.
sucked. I've had like funerals and all this shit, so it's been.
Yeah.
I wish I could have gone, but I will be at the next one. And
I
I
know.
can't
I
wait.
hope they would do them a little more regularly or something
Yeah,
like it doesn't have to be at such a large venue, but also yeah, I think they've got a lot of
yeah.
not potential, but it would be nice to do it, you know, more than once
It's
every what 4 or
yeah.
6 years.
It's funny because like when I think of something like that, like here in Canada, we'd be like, well, let's just do it in someone's backyard in the middle of summer
Mhm.
on a patio with my dad's in bands and stuff. So I'm like, we just set it all up. I mean, but I get
Yeah.
it. Like if people are going to LA, like I mean, to do it at the TLC, that's just fucking awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, that
It's
was
really
like
cool.
so much of my excitement about going. It's just that. Um, but yeah, no, was Mike were Mike and Pete there who work on the show too, or
Yeah, they were there. So we all kind of showed up
cool?
and we were helping Rand get some of the live stuff up. We were pretty much just, you know, the PA gruds like, hey, what can we do to help? Where the
Yeah.
chords need to be? What needs, you know, where it needs to go where? And so we were running around and doing a bunch of stuff before the show. And then I had made a pre-show that was about 20 minutes for
Oh
that
shit.
before I came down there that played before the whole show started. So if anybody kind of showed up early, they would get a chance to see, like, you know, when you go to the movies, there's always that
Yeah.
pre-show, sometimes commercials and sometimes entertaining, but it had like trivia about the show and different kind of listener art and listener music kind of going with it and some fun kind of stuff like when you go to like a sports game where it's like, hey, guess, you know, who's coming in first in the race,
Yep.
where you see like three people running around and somebody makes it to the finish line. So it was a bunch of stuff like that.
Yeah, that's cool. We used to have that before, like the trivia, like they'd black out like Brad Pitt's face. They'd be like,
Yeah.
"Who is this actor? He starred in Seven," like you know, and you're
Yeah.
and I'm shouting it out, and everybody, oh geez, everybody else in the theater is like, Jesus, that guy's a nerd.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess I should have said, I will say this in the intro, but we are doing top 5 movies that surprised you today.
Mhm.
And I think we did message about this. We've been getting season 2 up and running has been kind of a big job, but
Mhm.
we're here, we're doing it. And I know we messaged a while ago, but how did you go about your list? Because I was thinking after I did mine that there are
Mhm.
certain ways you could have gone about it, but I'm interested to hear.
Yeah, I went about it very similar to what you had emailed me, which was essentially
Okay.
it's like movies that surprised you by being so good. And
Yeah.
so they kind of fell, most of them fell into a category of I'm going in blind. If you're going to write it down on paper, it should be kind of a middle of the road movie, but it completely surprised me. And I've got one on here where on paper, it sounds like an absolute bore slog, just something I would never want to watch. And it was wonderful. It was delightful.
Yeah.
So so that was kind of my criteria. So mostly they were kind of blind spot movies for me.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's funny because I started to like go through some movies and write my lists, and I'm like, okay, half of these are ones that I heard from the Film Vault that they liked them, and then
Mm,
I went and watched them. So I can't really put them on there. Like I had a Ghost Story, right? I'm like, because
yeah.
that's one of my favorites, and to me, I would never have thought that that would be for me, but
Uh-huh.
I I jive with a lot of what Anderson likes, so I should have known, right? So I kind of I took that off because I'm like, well, if Anderson recommended it, then I was probably going to watch it anyways, and
Yeah.
have an idea that it was good. So I had to take some off that Anderson and Brian kind of told me about.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
funny because I kind of did the same thing where oh gosh, like I Brian had mentioned like Some Like It Hot, where it was just one of those blind spot
Yeah.
movies. Like
Same.
I love black and white movies, so it was I surprised myself that I hadn't seen it. But he was like, "Oh, this is a great movie. It's, almost perfect." And so I watched it. I was like, "Yeah, it's delightful. Like there's nothing wrong with that movie. It's a perfect movie."
Yeah.
So yeah, I had to take some of that stuff off. Where it's like, I think under any other circumstances, it would have been a very big surprise. But since they had mentioned it, yeah, I kind of it was void.
Okay. And is that Audrey 2 behind you? Or am I crazy?
Oh yeah, it is. I'm actually
Okay.
so my office downstairs has our water system in it because we've got really so where I live is we're near Santa Cruz. We're
Okay.
over in the town that is right on top of it, which is called Scotts Valley. Scotts Valley has some of the hardest water in California, and so we've got this little mini pump. And as soon as like our time was about to hit, it was as loud as it can be. So I moved
Yep.
up to my wife's office. But yeah, I got her Audrey too. Where the heck is it? Yeah, it's
Other
over there.
side.
Yeah, I got her this for like an anniversary gift because one of her favorite movies is Little Shop of Horrors, and it's like
Okay.
a
That's
total
awesome.
off of replica off of like Etsy with the mouth and everything.
Oh
So
no, that's so cool.
yeah, so you find so many fun things on Etsy. It's
Oh,
incredible the
yeah.
type of art that's out there. So I
The
don't
amount
well,
of alien stuff I have from Etsy around my place, like it's
yeah.
just yeah, like people see stuff on Etsy and it's like I have a face hugger in a glass jar full of green water
Oh,
and
crazy.
like, just stuff like that. And so
Yeah.
people, they Google knows now. Like the other day,
Mm.
I just got a cat and like a week ago, and now all my Instagram ads are cat stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's scary.
You know, they know you.
I
They know you
know.
better than you want them to.
Yeah, and I was with my friend 2 weeks ago,
Huh.
and he has one of those bracelets that track an animal. Have you seen the
Oh,
ads
okay.
for those?
Uh-uh.
And like,
No.
and so well, you'll see it in your ads now. Let me tell you,
Yeah, I know.
because we were talking, and every day he would pull it up, and he showed me he's tracking this hammerhead shark named Gilbert, and it shows you
Okay.
like where he is, and you get a bracelet, and you
Yeah.
get an app and everything. It's really cheap. It's only like $30 a month. I thought it was
Mhm.
really cool. Well, didn't I start getting ads for it like the day I left to come home? I'm like, and
Yeah.
I took a picture and I sent it to him, and I'm like, dude, this is scary. So I'm probably gonna buy
It's
one. But
It's so funny because we'll see stuff and then either I or my wife will just be in the room just like yelling at our phone whatever it is we just recently saw that's not popping up anymore. And then like sure enough, like within the next 20 minutes, like, oh, there's the ad.
uh, it's funny now, but we'll see if it
I
gets
know.
scary.
I'm of two minds of it because it's
Yeah.
like, well, it's either that or just getting all these random ads that you would never use. Like
Hmm.
if we're gonna get ads regardless, maybe
Yeah.
it's great that it's all stuff I would probably buy.
Exactly.
Uh,
Yeah, I feel like I could talk to you forever. I
I
have
know
like
this is very nice.
lots of other questions. I mean, like, so do you okay, I will talk to you a little bit more. Do you
Yeah.
communicate with like Anderson or Brian? I mean, Anderson or Avery more? I know like I did a lot more with Avery because I was basically just handing in
Mhm.
my school assignments basically, and do you feel
Yeah.
like you're just doing a lot of it on your own because you're all set up for it now, or
I would say they've given me like the luxury of autonomy. Like there
yeah,
hasn't been anything that I've posted or I have done
yeah,
where they've been like, whoa, whoa, whoa. The only thing that happened is they were Brian reached out to me because uh, I don't know if how much the spillover of like Brian's old life in the Adam Carolla world and kind of him doing like sports podcasts and stuff like that. But so he and Dave Damashek have come up with those actor redundancies. And
yes,
Brian was talking to me about like, hey, add those to your post because that probably will get some good traction. I was like, yeah, that's great. Doing that on our feed, and then all of a sudden, it was like, oh, like let's make sure we're giving both he and Dave like the credit for it since they both started it off, and not have it seem like it's a Facebook only thing. So other than
right,
that, like they've had me do pretty much whatever I want.
yeah,
Like it was, but I mostly reach out and communicate through Avery the most, and it's mostly just him telling me like, hey, here's the topic for next week, or here's, hey, could you post another thing about the merch, or can you post another
yeah,
thing about this topic or this thing that's coming up. Um, but overall, they're really kind of loose.
yeah,
But the nice thing is that it's kind of like leading to other stuff in their world where it's like Anderson uh, wants me to start doing more social media stuff for Loaded for Bear. So it's really cool to see
yeah,
some of the footage that like they've been doing. It's been a little kind of started off really quick, and then they did the short film, and now it's a little bit kind of and it's lull, but now it's kicking back up again. So that's probably going to get going. Um, Brian's wanting me to help out a little bit with some of the stuff on his documentary. So it's like they
yeah.
seem to like what I'm doing, but
That's awesome.
I'm having these conversations with kind of all three of them in not just about the film vault, but kind of other stuff that they're working on as well, which is really cool. So
Well, that's awesome. I mean, yeah, like again, you're doing a great job, and and you know what? There's three great guys to work for. I mean, technically, you're working with them,
yeah.
and they're like your friends, really, right? Like it's great. Like I liked it, and um, I don't know, like the day like Anderson like it was like, here's my number, like text me.
Mhm.
I like said to everybody, I'm like, I have Anderson's number in my phone now.
Yeah.
Like it
It
feels
was
weird. I've been
surreal.
listening to him for 10 years and now I could just call
Yeah.
him if I needed to, you know? And so they're really
Yeah.
great guys, and um everyone except Brian
Oh
hasn't
yeah.
got
I
the
like
fame get to
and
them
they're
yet.
all they're all yeah they're all super easy to talk to and
Yeah.
engage with and yeah it was wild because after I had reached out the email I didn't hear anything from them for a couple days, which I didn't think I would. And then I was on a trip, and then out of nowhere I get this email and it's Anderson. It was like, hey, saw this, would love to talk, do you got time to chat today? And I was like, oh, okay, here you go. And then all of a sudden his number popped up and we were talking on the phone, and it was just so surreal to be
Yeah.
talking to somebody I had only like listened to. And
Yeah.
it was pretty bizarre.
That's awesome because it was happened the same thing for me because I heard on the episode that Logan was leaving
Mm-hmm.
and like the show, and I said, well, oh man, like, and then they said they weren't going to have a producer or anything, and I said, well, man, I could help a bit, maybe see if they need help. So I emailed, and so I was doing the fanflictions, and then
Yeah.
Jordan Wolf was doing the, what's the other one, the fanflictions and the listener list. Jordan Wolf was doing that, and then Jordan Wolf left like a little bit later, and so I was doing all of it and the social medias and stuff. But So no, so it is funny how that worked, and I'm glad you're my
Yeah.
first guest because like I knew we'd have similar stories and some stuff to talk about.
Yeah. So like when you reached out when Logan was leaving, um, what were you up to outside of like, hey, I can help, with some of the production stuff and some of the social media stuff.
Yeah, I just I felt like I could finally maybe put my social media like uh my me spending way too much time on social media. I feel like I could do something, like
Yeah.
I was running like 2 or 3 Facebook pages for people helping post stuff, get traction on stuff, obviously.
Yeah.
And it was just little stuff. And but I don't know. I guess I never really when I started working for it and for them, I never thought to take it to the next level or do more stuff like that because like I did at the beginning, and Anderson was kind of like, "Oh, like don't stress about it. Like don't worry about it. Just do this. Just do this. Like we'll keep it rolling the way it is." And I was kind of like, "Okay." So I never really like pushed the boundaries like you are, which is awesome. But I yeah, so I was just kind of in this place where I'm like, yeah, I have extra time and I love the show and I love movies, so let's do it. So
Yeah. Awesome.
yeah.
That's so
So
cool. Yeah, it's like it's a fun experiment because you can
yeah,
see with all the tools on these social media things like, oh, hey, this is kind of fun, or this
yeah,
is work, this doesn't. So
and yeah, and you're learning more that you can throw on the resume. Exactly.
yeah,
So
exactly.
so what are your movie tastes? I know you said black and white, so you like some older movies. What
I
like what?
do. I know. It's I've been called from people that know me a friendly boomer at heart because my stuff is all older.
That's funny.
But yeah, like on my letterbox, I change them up for the favorite films every once in a while. But kind of the one that's always typically there is either something from Hitchcock or Kubrick are up there. Right now, I've got 2001. I've got The Fly and Rear Window.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's one that's called like Witness for the Prosecution, which is this old black and white like courtroom drama. I think it's based off of like an Agatha Christie book.
I'm gonna write that down.
That movie is one of my favorite movies. So it's
Really?
like stuff
Okay.
like that, or like the Philadelphia Story. I love all these like super old movies.
That's awesome.
Because one of my favorite shows of all time is The Twilight Zone. Like I watch that show all the time. I could probably stack rank all the episodes, and
Really?
I look forward to every year when Sci-Fi does their New Year's Eve, all day 24. I think now it's like a 36-hour marathon of The Twilight Zone. And
I
so I've
haven't
got
seen any of it.
kids right next to me. I drag them to watch all this stuff, and sometimes they like it, sometimes they don't. But
How old are your
whatever.
kids?
I've got a recently turned 8-year-old. Her birthday was this month, and then I've got a 6-year-old. Two girls.
Nice. Yeah, I have 2 boys and 8 and no, 9 and going to be 8 in November. So
Nice.
so pretty close there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun to have kind of those close ages.
Yes,
They don't know any different than having a sibling.
Exactly, and they're best friends. Like they're 18 months apart. They're just it's amazing. I couldn't have asked for better boys. So,
that's awesome.
That's awesome. So well, I guess almost 25 minutes into this. This is great. Let's we can get into our list.
Yeah, let's do it.
Do you want to go first, or do you want to have the pole position? I usually give my guests the pole position, so your movie's like last, but whatever.
Oh yeah, I'm fine with whatever you want to do. I'm happy to take either or.
Okay. Well, then I'll go first, so then you can have that pole position, and
okay.
And yeah, I have mine written down, but I also have the links up.
You and I are kindred spirits, Mitch. I did the exact same thing.
Like I'll just give you a quick like look at the how messy it all is and stuff. So so anyway, so my number 5 was a big surprise for me. I think it was a big surprise for everyone. So this movie it's a sequel and it came after the original, which I should have
Mhm.
had that up. Hold on, I
That makes
apologize.
sense for a sequel.
Yeah, so shut up. I hate you already. No, I'm just kidding. So this movie came out, the original came out in 2008, and it was a surprise to everybody, like real big surprise to everybody.
Oh
And
my gosh. I think we might have the
es-
same number
especially
5.
with its marketing, they did a
Uh-huh.
really crazy thing with its marketing that hadn't been done in a long time. So this is 10 Cloverfield Lane from
Oh, okay.
director Dan Trachtenberg.
Mhm.
Um, Obviously, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, John Goodman, and John Gallagher Jr. So this came like, so many years, 2016, so many years after Cloverfield. Nobody knew what it was going to be. It kind of did a similar marketing thing where it,
Mhm.
it kind of came out of nowhere. And this was and then I'm glad to know the Cloverfield Paradox came after, because not a lot of people love that one, and they tried to do something
Mhm.
similar with that, where they just showed a trailer at the Super Bowl and said it was
Yeah.
premiering on Netflix right after the Super Bowl, and everybody was like, "What the hell?" And then not a lot of people loved it. But this one, if you haven't seen it, like, you don't have to see the original for sure,
Uh-huh.
and it's Jesus, sounded like a gunshot. I think I'm under fire here in little
Oh no.
town Canada. Um, it's like small movie, and it ended up making like $110 million worldwide
Mhm.
on a $13 million budget. John Goodman gives like one of his greatest acting performances in a long time. Like, you go back to like him with oh my gosh, the Coen Brothers. Like where he's
Yeah.
giving a amazing performance. And so if you haven't seen this one, it's just this woman. She gets in a car accident, and a man saves her, and they're in this bunker, and it's kind of like reminds me a little bit of Bug, which I just watched.
Mhm.
If anyone's seen that, where it's like you don't know what's going on, who's right and who's wrong, if it's like if there is something going on outside, or if there isn't. It's a really good like mystery, very tense,
Mhm.
and I really recommend it. And I'm sure a lot of people have already seen it. That's why I put it in my number 5.
Yeah, that's a great number 5.
Well, thank you.
Um,
What
and you're
about
so
you?
right about John Goodman, because it's almost like
Yes.
he takes all the like bombastic over the top rage that he has in like those Coen
Yes.
brothers, and almost like internalizes all that throughout this movie. So you're like, something's up, and he's not
Yes.
like going over the top, but something is very unnerving.
His facial expressions and the things he can do with his eyes, like,
Yeah.
you're all of a sudden like you like love this big cuddly teddy bear of a man he is, and then all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, like I'm scared of him, but should I be
Yeah,
scared of him? I don't know. It's a good really good movie.
it
Oh,
is. Oh
keep
man.
shaking this. So your number 5, sir.
So my number 5 is also a sequel to a movie that was like a longer time ago,
Okay.
and this is gonna be my tip of the hat to Mr. Bishop. It's Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
Oh,
That movie blew my socks off. I
yeah.
was not a huge fan of kind of the animation of DreamWorks. I thought like Shrek 2 was super hilarious. That came out, I think, like my senior year of high school, and that one just like cracked me up. But other than that, there wasn't really any standouts. Like I thought it was all kind of cheaper jokes and a little bit of kind of copy and paste reference material. But I didn't even particularly care for any of the other Shrek movies, which might give me some heat because I know Shrek is pretty beloved. Um, but definitely the original Puss in Boots was nothing to write home about. But this one, the story, the pacing, I was so surprised at how intense it got at times,
Yeah.
and the visual style they decided to do. Because at the same time, Disney came out with like Wish, and they were trying to get closer to that kind of 2D animation, which just makes me scratch my head. It's like,
Right.
just do 2D animation if you're trying to get close to it.
Yeah.
But you've got these two kind of newer animation styles that I think is all being driven by the Spider Verse movies, which I'm all about. Like, keep pushing the envelope in these new territories, but like it just blew me away. I remember sitting there and enjoying it more than my kids did because I just was like, holy the
Yeah.
story structure, the drive, the pacing was just perfect. It was just a nice surprise.
Yeah.
So
No, sorry. Do you mind if I ask how old you are? Does that bother you if I ask?
oh no, not at all.
Okay.
I'm 39.
You're 39. So I'm 34. So I'm kind of with you. I like me and my brothers were obsessed with Shrek, the first one, and but if I had to go back in time and pick one to watch, I would watch Shrek 2, and then I hated Shrek 3. So I'm kind of there with you.
Yeah.
Like I know, like I think Justin Timberlake had a role, and it made me hate Justin Timberlake like right out of the gate as an actor.
Where he's like a prince or something. Oh,
and he was so annoying in this movie. I apologize. I need to drink some water.
Totally agree. Yeah, it was like, and like the first Shrek is good. But I just thought the second one just was like just so much funnier and just it was really cleverly written, even though I know it's a lot of like reference material, but I just always think of what was going around the internet at the time where it's like you got all these Pixar movies and then everything is just that goofy DreamWorks smile for all their characters. And I was just like, oh yeah.
Well,
that sums it up.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. But Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is literally like so good. I wish Anderson had liked it more. I think he went in with that that the movie had kind of that Brian stink on it for him, and he had that hype, because man, it could be top 20, top 30 animated movies for me. I think it's and to have that many characters, like you've got Florence Pugh in there playing Goldilocks and the three bears and the this and the that and the big giant guy and Puss in Boots and all these characters, and you're like, and they made it work. And I was like, yeah, and I was in the theater with my kids, and I'm like this, and they're kind of like just like, that was okay.
Yeah. I know. I think they'll appreciate it when they're a little older. But yeah, I was just like, between that and then the Wild Robot, I think we are witnessing a huge pendulum swing from Pixar into DreamWorks, which is I never thought in my lifetime I would ever say that. But like,
I know
whoever they have like as their John Lasseter or whoever's in charge of like some of like the creative decisions. Those two movies alone are some of the best animated stories I've seen in a really long time. So.
I agree. I bawled my way through the final half of Wild Robot. So,
so good.
I looked over, and the son, who will sometimes cry during things, I looked over and he's like just placid, nothing. He was enjoying it though. Like they both really liked it. They left saying they loved it. And when you're a dad who loves films, you're like, so what did you think? What did you think?
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, no, it was good. Thanks, Dad. But
the popcorn was good.
Oh yeah. Once the popcorn's done, and my oldest will just slurp that drink till it's last little molecule. But so my number 4, and I know I said I wasn't going to do this, but was one that was recommended by the boys on the show. And it's a 2016 drama. I wasn't the hugest fan of Casey Affleck. Michelle Williams is sometimes, she's great, but like I don't love her, and I didn't know this movie that was going to end up being one of my favorite movies of all time, or up there at least, top 100 probably, and that is Manchester by the Sea. It's just such a beautiful movie, and it impacted me with this story. I haven't been through what like this, family problems and the guilt, the grief, and where this movie goes in the second act, and your heart is just broken in half. This movie just, it bowled me over, and I wasn't expecting that. It was it made me fall in love with Casey Affleck. It was the first time we'd seen Lucas Hedges, who we haven't seen in a while, but But you know,
So
and
good.
then obviously went on to win a bunch of Academy Awards. I'm so happy that I saw this in theaters, and
Mhm.
I've shown this to many people, and and they've always just came back to me with praise. So
Yeah.
yeah, I I love this movie. So
Mhm.
there's not really much more I could say about it. It is a gut punch. So if you haven't seen it, I mean, be ready, because you know, and I don't think a movie like this would make $79 million today. Like
Mhm.
on a $9 million budget, I think it would probably go right to streaming or something. But I'm glad I saw it in theaters, and it was it was very emotionally
Mhm.
impactful. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that movie is wonderful. I mean,
beautiful.
because it tells a story that like it on you would think anyone else probably who was directing it would lean a little too much into the melodrama, but like
Yes.
the fact that it's handled in such a real way where it's
Yeah.
it's like just because it's it has this, like you said, this gut punch, but there's still a lot of great realistic like humorous moments throughout
Yeah.
the movie that just like, oh man, you are it's hard not to just get sucked into that movie. Like that's one
Yeah.
where I saw it at home, and even though it's not a huge spectacle, I was like, I wish I saw that one in theaters. Like that one
Yeah.
is a great one to
It's
see on the big screen.
it's akin to Anderson wanting to see a ghost story in theaters. Just you know,
Mm-hmm.
just because of that emotion and letting it wash over you in a different way. Like I like, you know, movie lovers will say this till the day we die, but we don't want theaters to go away,
Yeah.
because it's a different experience. And you know, even going to see Terrifier 3 2 weeks ago, or
Mm.
whatever, a week ago, um, seeing that in a theater, in a full theater, was a insane experience that I will remember. So
Yeah.
I don't
I
want
know.
them to go
I
away.
it's not, I like the Terrifier stuff. It's a lot of fun, but I wanted to see it opening night because I was like, this is the fans who want
Yep,
to see what is on the screen rather than just like a random matinee someday with a couple of old
exactly.
people who don't know what they just bought a ticket for. Yeah, but it's a
I
lot of fun.
There
Uh,
is that. Yes.
so
You're
cool.
number
Well,
4.
my number four is I'm continuing this fun trend. It was
Cool.
high on the fun scale. Uh, I am a huge fan of, you know, uh, comic book movies. I think I love the full spectrum. Everything from The Dark Knight, where you're trying to get super gritty and real, to even like the first Shazam, where it's just like a lot of fun.
Yep.
Like I got a little bit of a soft spot for
I
him.
agree. I'm watching the Marvel movies with my kids right now. Like, and this is my
Nice.
fourth time probably going through the MCU. So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
There you go.
yeah, I get you.
Yeah. I, definitely kind of lean more towards Marvel stuff, but I would say Birds of Prey from DC just kind of really just was a nice, pleasant surprise. I don't know who did the trailer for or the marketing campaign for it, but I just was like, oh my goodness, this looks awful. And then all of a sudden, I just started kind of hearing these like soft little rumbles of, it's actually kind of a fun time. And so I was like, all right, let's go see it. And then sure enough, like Ewan McGregor kills it. Like his villain is great. He
Yes.
doesn't need like superpowers, but he's got all these great little lines and he's sprinkled throughout just perfectly. But just the interactions and just some of like the really playful cinematography and just that sequence with her and the breakfast sandwich. I was like, okay, it's not a perfect movie, but like the people that are making this movie are making a movie that's supposed to be as fun as this character is. And it's like
Yes.
I love movies that do that, where it's almost like
Yes.
the character themselves made the movie. Like I've only
Yes.
seen that a very small handful of times, but when they do it, it typically works for me. And so I wish there was a sequel to it, but I doubt we'll ever get one. But it's kind of a
Yeah.
perfect little standalone movie. So
It is funny with you know, Mr. James Gunn over there taking over at DC,
mhm.
and he did the Suicide Squad, which is probably one of my
Yeah.
favorite DC movies since The Dark Knight.
Mhm.
Um, and him keeping Margot Robbie in there again, like
Yeah.
I'm hoping, you know, maybe he'll, like, it's funny because like she's the only one that I would really care about them keeping over into his new
Yeah.
universe. But yeah,
Uh-huh.
did you see
I know it's just it's like it's rare to have like such perfect casting, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like it's
Yes.
hard to think of anybody else out there other than just
Yes.
going completely like unknown to be like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, that would be a good replacement.
Yeah, you don't come across those Tony Stark, Downey Jr. and
No,
as
no.
often as you wish.
Mhm.
Did you see Joker too?
I did. I saw Joker too. I I I was like, it was almost as if they were like begrudging the first one, which I found to be a
Yeah,
little weird. Like I
yeah,
was almost like, you can like, I by all means make it a musical.
yeah.
I'm a big fan of musicals.
Me
Go
too.
for it. But I don't know. The pacing just felt really really slow.
Yeah,
Um for no particular reason. And it's like I get that you're wanting to make like a tone to it, but like the first one, it felt really purposeful, and this one felt like, oh shoot, we're kind of obligated to make this one because the last one made
yeah,
so much money.
yeah. I kind of said if they had taken out like the music, honestly, 100% didn't work for me, and I love musicals. I even
Mhm.
like what some people call bad musicals. I watched Les
Yeah.
Mis too much, the
Nice.
movie version.
Uh,
I actually don't mind Russell Crowe singing, but like the music
yeah.
in this was just like, why? These are all songs from the 50s. They're like, we're not
Mhm.
getting Lady Gaga doing, good music
No,
or
why
like
hire her if she's like not gonna sing? You know, it's like, oh, don't
100%.
sing.
Yeah, so if they had just cut the
Yeah.
music and done something different, I maybe, but no, it didn't
Mhm.
work for me.
You
Would
know, and it also made me think like this is another round where you've got people where they almost try to expand it too much, where it's like the Joker's not just a person, it's like an idea or a symbol. Because I remember like David Gordon Green tried to do that like with the like the Exorcist almost, and then
oh
definitely with like the Halloween movies where it's like
yeah,
Mike Myers is, spirit can go into anybody. Like you don't know
yeah,
who's safe. And I was like, that doesn't seem to work. So I'm hoping we kind of don't do that anymore. Because
yeah,
I thought like the last frame and scene of Joker Folia do was compelling because it's
me
like you're
too.
not seeing what's going on, but I was like, that okay, that makes me want
Yeah,
more, like 20 minutes more of that movie, but it's the
yeah.
last little scene. So
Which makes me
oh,
wonder if that was like a studio note, if they said you kind of have
mm.
to do this, you kind of have to do this if you're going to do this. I don't know, but
So
um,
I had come across something online where they were originally wanting that to be sort of the ending for the first one, but Joaquin was doing
mhm,
what the person in the background was doing, and they were like, absolutely not. Like that is Heath Ledger, that is Christopher Nolan. Like we will not do that because I think they were hoping to get. I think Warner Brothers was hoping to get Chris Nolan's new movie, which he didn't even consider them for. And so I think they shoved that in because I think in Phillips's mind, he was just like, I want this somewhere in my movie.
right. And
I'm
I had
tiptoeing around it
read
because I don't want to spoil it for anybody who's listening now.
Yeah, and I
I don't
had
want to spoil
read that it was actually Nolan who kiboshed it because he was
Oh, there
still
you go.
working under the Warner Brothers banner at the time.
Mm,
And then Gunn and the other guy,
yeah.
they took over, and so by the time this one was being made, Nolan couldn't say no anymore because
Oh,
he wanted to
interesting.
keep that as his thing. Oh, that's what I read,
Yeah.
and I could be wrong. And I have to ask, I know we're but the spaceship behind you is what is that from? Is that Twilight Zone, or is that not a spaceship to your other?
Oh my other. Oh my gosh, no. Oh, so it's like the old Apple little computer mini. It's like an old Apple
Oh,
mini.
oh my gosh! It looks like one of the spaceships from like Mars Attacks from here or something. I was like,
Yeah, no, like so in my office, it's all more like I've got like old horror movie posters. I One of my afflictions in terms of collecting are tiki mugs. So I've got all these
oh,
crazy different
cool.
tiki mugs from like different movies and stuff I've found online and stuff like that. But yeah, we're a bit of an Apple fan
Yeah.
family here, so we find all these like old ones and try to find as best condition as we can get. So
Sorry if I'm keeping you. I know I keep talking. I know
no,
you've
no,
got
no,
kids
totally
and
fine.
stuff. So I guess it's my number three.
Yeah.
And my number three is, I think, one that went under the radar. I'm pretty sure the boys watch it. Man, I'm just realizing how recent my list is. I oh my gosh, I should have went for some older movies. But anyways, um, this one is from 2022, and it is a Netflix documentary. And usually, I'm not the kind of guy to put a documentary on his list, but this is called Gladbeck: The Hostage Crisis.
I was
And
looking, sorry to interrupt you. I was looking
no,
at your letterbox and that one was like, oh, this one looks really good. So I added it to my
yeah,
letterbox. I'm glad
it's
you're talking about
oh, okay, good. That's awesome because I feel like the boys watched it and they weren't that they were like, yeah, this is good, okay. And then I watched it and I was just blown away by this story I have never heard of. And
it.
it literally is like it's taken from the POV of the reporters because and you see things that the cops aren't doing. Essentially, it's August 1988 in Gladbeck, Germany. Gladbeck is in Germany, and two armed bank robbers keep German and Dutch police at bay for over 54 hours during a hostage taking drama that ends badly. And we've seen lots of stuff about hostages and lots of movies about that, but the fact that there isn't, like, maybe there is a movie about this, but the fact that this story isn't more well known is crazy. And because this guy, like, essentially he's done horrible things in the last 20, 30, 40 hours, and reporters are walking right up to him and putting microphones in his face and asking him questions, and he's enjoying being a celebrity. It's like watching, it's absurdo television. Like, you can't believe it's actually happening. And yeah, it's a really great, it's a Netflix original, so just it's not 54 hours. It's only an hour and 30 minutes. So and it's kind of a look at the police, and you're kind of like, okay, why are they acting like horror? Why are the police terrible? uh, but so give this one a shot. I know it might sound boring, but it's really thrilling and scary, and yeah. So
Nice. Awesome. I'm glad
yeah,
it's so funny. I was like scanning through your kind of like 5-star stuff, and I was just like, oh, that one looks pretty interesting.
yeah.
I'll add it to my
Oh,
list.
cool.
There you go. Now you're talking about
Yeah,
it.
that's awesome.
Awesome. So I feel like both our lists have these little nuggets of like tethers that are, because this next one that I've got for my three, it was also from 2022.
Okay.
This one was discussed on the episode that just came out today. Sorry to timestamp it.
Oh, I
But
haven't
it's
listened yet.
oh, okay. But it's the first Smile.
Okay.
This one is another one of those where the trailer made it look just so cheesy. Like if you were gonna be like in a pitch meeting to be like, okay, what's a silly horror movie we need a poster for in the background of a movie? It'd be like, oh, let's do Smile. But I remember going to the theater. It was it was like on a Thursday night, random night after it had been out for like a few weeks. Uh, and I went to my local theater and the late showing, and there was just like a handful of people there. And I remember being like legitimately freaked out at some of the scenes in this movie. And like it just, and just some of the storytelling techniques that kept me guessing. I was like, I have not been surprised like that in a
Yeah.
while, which I would have never expected from a movie like Smile. And it's like, all right, I already have a soft spot for horror. I like it a lot. That's one of my favorite genres. But to sit there and be kind of like, oh my gosh, what? Have some
Yeah.
surprising moments kind of throughout was just, it was just a pleasant experience. And I walked out and texted my siblings, was like, if you guys are looking for a good scary movie, go see Smile before it leaves the theaters. Like, you gotta go
Yeah.
see this one. So
I know, I 100% agree with you, and I think that's why I didn't love the sequel as much. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
yes, I
You
saw the
have,
sequel.
and
So if we could
yes,
discuss a little bit, I would
yeah,
love to.
yeah, because my co-host on my other podcast, the
Uh,
Hollywood Persona, he really enjoyed it as well as everyone else did. and I think I didn't enjoy it as much because the first one, what
Mhm.
I enjoyed so much, and I had such low expectations for, because it was a lot like this year's Speak No Evil, where
Oh,
I had
yeah.
seen the trailer so many fucking times that I
Oh,
felt like I was gonna like never see the movie. But I
yeah.
love horror, and so like if I had to see that guy sitting on the hospital bed smiling as she walked by the door, if I had to see that one more
Uh-huh.
time, I was gonna lose my shit.
Yeah.
But then you get this movie, and then you got Kevin Bacon's daughter and Kira Sedgwick's daughter giving
Mhm.
an amazing performance, and
Yeah.
Kyle Gallner, and it's I'm so glad you had this on your list, because I can talk about how much I loved it.
Yeah. You
And
know, between the two female lead performances, I like want the director, like Parker Finn, to like do just some crazy drama or something, like because
yeah,
he's getting performances out
yeah,
of these actresses that like you don't see him in their other roles. Like he
no.
knows how to kind of pull stuff out of people.
I didn't
Um,
even know that was Jasmine from the
yeah,
live action Aladdin until my
yeah,
other co-host said that. I'm like, what? Oh,
yeah. I was like
okay.
blown away. I was like Jasmine, and then like Power Rangers, and then Charlie's
Yeah,
Angels, and I was like, oh,
yes.
all these like. So it's like if I were before Smile 2, if you're gonna like line her up in a room, I'd be like, I have no idea which one's the actress. I don't
Yes,
know.
exactly.
But this one, it's like she nails it, and
Yeah.
so without
Smile
getting
too.
into any spoilers, one of the things that I absolutely love about the first one is they put their rules in stone. It is like, this is how this happens. Here it is.
Hmm.
This is the, what this is the sequence in these 6 days, and this is how the final happens, and this is how the spirit transfers to the next person. It is
Okay.
just like in granite.
Yep.
So I thought the opening sequence for the second one was really well done. Great. If you like the first one, you know exactly what's happening in the second one. However, I don't understand how the spirit goes from Kyle to the new person, because we don't see
Yeah.
him like go through the steps that they make it like so concrete to go through for it to attach itself to like a new host. Again,
Yeah.
trying to tiptoe around it without like letting it, but obviously
Yeah.
it jumps to keep the story continuing, because we don't
Exactly.
see that at all. Like he it doesn't happen. So I
No.
don't know how, when, because in the rest of the movie it is that to a T. It is back to
Yes.
the normal cadence. So I don't know what happened in that decision making for the first part of the movie, but that's what kept me out of it, because I thought if we didn't even have the opening, we just started off with like new people and this person has the spirit with them, then we're good. Like I didn't even need
Yeah.
the connection to it, but because it went out of its way and it didn't follow the rules, I just kind of was getting obsessed over like, but it didn't it didn't jump to this guy.
So you're saying it didn't jump from Gallner to that other
Yeah.
guy? Or
Yeah,
we
from Gallner to who was in oh my gosh, what was his name?
wasn't his name
Uh,
Lewis or Lucas or something?
yeah, the guy from White Lotus.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't.
Yeah, who in the trailers you see him smashing himself with the weight.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's like, because he's hiding in the corner, he doesn't see anything, and then by the time like all is said and done, like there isn't that moment that like the spirit has taken over, has gone into
You're right. Yeah.
child's body. Like none of that stuff happens, and
Yeah.
it just seemed a very strange choice.
I think if they had expanded on that, like that opening scene was like really well done. Like,
Yeah,
and
it was really
Gallner,
well done. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm glad he went and did that. I think I love Gallner and everything there. I think it was really well done. But I
Hmm.
wish they had expanded on that other character a little bit, because I
Hmm.
feel like the part with Naomi Scott and her character went on a little too long. I got a little
Mm,
bored almost, even though
yeah.
the tension was there and everything. It didn't work for me as well as the first one, and
Mhm.
it sounds like you're kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah, I like I would give the first one a solid A. I'd probably give the
Yeah,
second one like a B minus, kind of floating
yeah,
around there. Like it's still
yeah,
really
me too.
good, but like
Yeah,
the first one is is hands down way better.
Cool. Well, I'm glad I've talked to someone who kind of agrees with me. So I'll have to listen to what the boys said about it
Yeah.
today. So.
Have a pencil nearby to snap it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So this is my number 2.
Okay, cool.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, this is one that the boys talked about, but I saw it before the boys, and I thought I had emailed Anderson. I don't know. I think he or someone, but I think Brian saw this first. Now, I'm not a huge fan of when somebody drops comedy into my horror. I don't mind it, little bits of it, but like when you try to smash the two together, I'm like not usually that kind of person. So I stay away from it for the most part. Like Studio 666, which was the Dave Grohl, what's his band called?
Yeah, Foo Fighters.
Foo Fighters. That movie was just awful, and I had friends who just said it's the funniest thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, no, dude. I mean, this movie is from 2020, and I think anyone who listens to the Film Vault has either seen it or heard of it. This is Psycho Gorman. After unearthing a gem that controls an evil monster looking to destroy the universe, a young girl and her brother use it to make him do their bidding. And this is one where I've shown people, and because I own it on a beautiful Blu-ray set I got. It came with like trading cards and everything.
Oh, nice.
This movie is stupid in the best way, funny. You've got kid actors who are great. You've got over the top like things that happen and people just accept it. It's a little bit like Scary Movie almost, which I love those ones too. But like, so this one really surprised me, and I did see it before the Film Vault kind of gushed all over it, because a lot of the people my friends in the cinematics group were talking about it. So I said, oh well, I'm gonna give this a shot. And this, if you like comedy in your horror, I think this one is pretty good. I also think it's not, it also isn't going to hit people the same way, I don't think. But this guy, he does a lot of his own makeup and prosthetic work, and you can see it in this movie. He did the prosthetic makeups for In a Violent Nature, if I don't know if you've seen that one. So
little different.
Yeah, exactly. And like It and stuff. So he does have one movie on the horizon. He hasn't done a whole lot since, just some TV stuff, but I'm hoping to see more from him.
Yeah, he's got like a new one with like puppets or something that I keep seeing on Instagram pop up.
Is that the Deathstalker one or this?
No, it looks like Frankie, it's like a Garbage Pail Kid kind of thing. I think it's that Frankie one.
Frankie Frico. Oh, so is that from this year? Oh my gosh, does he have another one?
I think so.
Okay. And it's coming out, and he wrote it, and oh my god, I didn't even know this, dude. I'm so excited. Yeah. Okay. Nice. Anyway, so
I saw just a couple of things just scrolling through my feed on Instagram, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, cool. He's working, because that's one of those things where he seems to have picked a lane for his direction where it's like it could be a really long time before we see something from this guy.
Yeah.
But I'm glad he's got something come out this year.
That's amazing. You know what? Thank you so much. You're my favorite guest of season 2 so far, for telling me that.
Off to a strong start.
So you're number 2.
Awesome. All right. My number 2. This is the one that I alluded to that on paper should just bore the heck out of anybody. This one's from 1981. It's rated PG. It's less than 2 hours long. And it's about 2 people having a dinner in a restaurant. That is it.
Oh.
We watch the guy go onto a subway, get off the subway, go into the restaurant, meet his friend, and then we sit there and watch 2 friends catch up, and it is My Dinner with Andre. It's one of those things where I had never watched it before. I watched it maybe about 2 years ago. But the fact that like it is you are like pretty much a static shot. I think maybe they just put up 2 cameras and then cut between camera A, camera B, a couple of B-roll of the waiter. That's about it. But I think it did me some service watching it now, because this movie from the 80s is talking about all this stuff that is just so prescient to today. You know, it's about a guy who was living that yuppie lifestyle in the early 80s, and he's conflicted with himself. Like, hey, we live in this society that's all about consumerism, and I have just spent the last like few years in the jungle with these like tribes folk and getting as simple living as you can get. And so kind of taking a look, taking stock of your life around, you know, all these creature comforts that just go into kind of our consumerist nature. Where does that take us? And if all stuff is supposed to make us happy, why are we all so miserable? And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I think if you watch it even today with today's lenses, it can be very much applied to a lot of things that I think people are going through, experiencing. And I think that fact kind of shows how good the dialogue is because it's kind of resonating throughout time, and it's almost this kind of timeless fly on the wall conversation between these two people, where you've got one person on one end of the table who's like, I kind of like these creature comforts. I'm not happy, but I know I'm not miserable. And you've got somebody who's kind of gone outside of the societal norms, sees how good things can be once you kind of remove yourself from it's like, I don't know, it's for me, like, you know, I go up and down in weight all the time because I eat food that's horrible for me, but I like it. But I know I should stop doing it. And then when I stop doing it, I do feel better. But then, you know, a year goes by and I go back to eating the bad food, and I know it's not good for me and I don't feel great, but I still do it. And then I go, so it's like, it's kind of something that you know, all these different aspects of your life. But the fact that it came out in the 80s and it's just these two guys just chatting it up is remarkable that I liked it so much. So yeah, that's number 2.
I don't hate me. It's been on my watch list for so long, and I know one of the boys love it. I know, so I will bump it up because what I used to do is like when I had a guest on, I would get them to assign me a movie, but I just have so much going on, especially not like, so I will put Witness for the prosecution and this up on my watch list very high, and I will watch them. Usually I get to a lot of things after the Oscar season is kind of quieted down, and then that's when I watch like what's on the top of my watch list. So I promise you they will be watched by me in my lifetime.
All good.
I didn't know they wrote it. I did not know that Wallace Shawn.
So I hadn't done like any. And Andre Gregory. So I would assume that they were like two guys just, you know, going through the theater scenes in New York, and they're like, well, we got to write ourselves something because nobody's casting us, and then they write this kind of 2-person show, and then they gave it some legs and put it into the movies. So, but yeah, it's like I was kind of surprised that like you hear the dialogue, you see what they can do. I'm kind of surprised they haven't had like a second career as like a punch up like script writer kind of behind the scenes or something like that.
So. Yeah, I don't like, so he died in 95, Andre. But I mean, Wallace Shawn, he's been active, like he was just on Young Sheldon, it looks like. I mean, and then obviously the Princess Bride.
He's got one of the most famous voices of all time, you know.
He could do voice acting for the rest of his life if he wanted to. But yeah, no, that's I'm glad you brought that one up, because I think that's one we should all see, and the message sound, the way you were talking about it in the message seems to me like effective. So so my number 1, We Are Here. So this movie is I think all my movies were from the 2020s. No, my first one was 2018. Yay. But anyways, this movie is from 2021. And it was selected for Best International Feature at the 94th Academy Awards. It stars Noomi Rapace. I forget how to say her name sometimes. And it comes from a guy who had only done like movies from Denmark, and this movie is called Lamb. I don't. It's an A24 film. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Oh yeah, I did not see it, but I do remember the trailer being like, oh, that's an A24 movie.
Yes, and so what you have, the poster is just Noomi Rapace holding a lamb,
Mhm.
and the post and it just says lamb. And I think I saw like one trailer, and I said I have to see this movie, and yeah, it is about a family, and the film's plot is about the birth of a human slash sheep hybrid of mysterious origin and the couple who adopts them.
Uh,
It sounds stupid, it sounds silly, but like, I should have known with A24, you're going into like at least some decent hands. I've seen some bad A24 movies, but
mhm.
this movie, it just really hit me into like in some emotional ways. I laughed. Um, the sheep, the sheep, the main lamb, uh, Ada is her name. Me
Mhm.
and my friend, we both watched the movie and said we would both give up our lives and die for Ada, because
Uh,
I want no harm to come to this beautiful, amazing creature. They put her in little sweaters, and
oh
that's
my
only
God.
part of it. Okay, my love for Ada is only part of it, and if I could have a little lamb child, I would have a little lamb child. And this movie does go into a little bit into the weird near the end, and I could see that just
Mhm.
some people being like, okay, well, I didn't like how it ended. It's a folk horror kind of, but not really horror. It's just more
Okay.
of a drama, and I love Rapace. I love everything she's in. I should learn how to say her name, but I love her as well. Um, this isn't going to work for everyone. That's probably why I thought like, and this was the year we also got not Pig, but the movie that Anderson really loved. That's I
Mm.
think just about a pig. It's called like Gunda. Gunda, that's what it's called, and I
Oh
hated
yeah.
it. And then
Okay.
and so I was like, is this another one? We're just gonna follow a lamb or something? And it
Yeah.
wasn't. And it's really great. It's really moving, and I
Mhm.
enjoyed it. So
Nice.
yes,
All
yes.
right. I put it to the top of my list now because I was
If
like
you
on the
do
fence.
if you
So
do watch this,
now,
I need you to tell me what you thought about it,
okay.
because I know I follow you on, I think I follow you on Letterboxd, I'm pretty sure.
I think so, yeah.
But I need to know if it just didn't work for you, or if it does. I could see you going either way. So
Awesome. Yeah, I will definitely check it out. Um, and I'm
yeah.
adding it to this now. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I see her in the sweater. That's
Do
cute.
you?
Yeah. All right. I'm excited to see that one. Cool. All right. Now my
Drum
number
roll.
one. So my number one is another. I know. I feel like my list is so recent. Um, so just froze on me. So I have always typically been a really big fan of Saturday Night Live. For the last few years, I've kind of fallen off. I just feel like I've aged out in terms of the humor sentiment. I also know that comedies and humor, for some people, it just hits, and for other people, it doesn't. But when I saw that the recent kind of writers of Saturday Night Live had a new movie that was coming straight to Peacock, I was like, whatever, I've got no interest on it. I found myself on a plane, and it was one of the options on the plane, which I was surprised since it had just pretty much come to streaming. And I started watching it, and I got like 5 minutes into this movie, and I was laughing so much I had to stop it because I wanted to watch it with my wife because her and I have very similar sentiments, and we steer towards the same sort of humor.
I'm already writing it
And
down.
so as soon as we landed, we get to the hotel. I was like, we have to watch this movie. Like it has just been tickling my funny bone, and I can't stop thinking about it. And so we ended up watching it and laughing so much. It was just like such a great. Maybe it's more of the memory that I like of it than anything else, but it is The Treasure of Foggy Mountain by the writers Please Don't Destroy.
Yes.
Uh, it should be very silly and stupid, but it does that in all the right ways. Like there are just lines where I just find myself quoting all the time. Like
Mhm.
there's one part where what it does, it's out of context, and if you don't know the movie, it's not gonna make any sense to you. But one character gets this big mask put on him, and he just yells out, "Ah, what if there's a bug in there?" It just cracks me up, and just the way that just the cadence between these three friends, because essentially what the movie's about is you've got these three friends who find this compass in the woods, and they live in this town that's at the base of all these mountains, and there's a treasure up in them hills, but they think it's all kind of an urban legend. But then all of a sudden they start seeing these like kind of news articles that the only reason nobody's found it is they've been missing the compass that leads them to the treasure. And so that kicks off the adventure. And so it's about these three friends trying to kind of rekindle their friendship, because all of them are growing, and one has kind of arrested development, but the other two are kind of moving on in their lives. And so it's like, hey, how do we kind of maintain this friendship? Let's go on this treasure hunt and rekindle our youth. And so the humor of it is just kind of the best pieces of Saturday Night Live for maybe the last couple of years. And
Yeah.
and Conan O'Brien's in it, and he plays this angry dad, and even and surprise, surprise, it's like he's super funny in it, but he's not even like close to being some of the funniest stuff in this movie. And I love Conan O'Brien, and so it's
Yeah.
like if that's kind of your baseline and the rest of it's up, it was just such a nice surprise. So
Yeah.
that one, if you like comedy, that one's kind of gone under the radar, and it's definitely worth checking out, because I think it's free now on like Hulu or something like that, but it kind of bounces around the different streaming services.
Well, I have to say I kind of just, once the reviews kind of came out and I heard mixed things, I kind of just pushed it out of my way, even though I've seen everything that Please Do Not Destroy has done on SNL. Like I love SNL, but I basically only watch like those parts, Weekend Update, and then obviously if I hear there's a good guest or a good spot, I'll watch it. I love the show. Still I do like it. But I obviously, like Conan says on his podcast actually a lot, is everyone says like the new season's bad because you loved the season that you grew up with, I think, and then you look back at the older stuff as classics, and the newer stuff is kind of like, you're like, it's never going to be as good. But I kind of hope that there's people today loving it as much as we loved our seasons with Will Ferrell or whoever, right? So no, I'm gonna have to watch
where it's like I love their shorts and their digital content that they're doing. Those are always like the funniest parts about the show. And so it's like, if you like what they're doing in those snippets, like now it's kind of fleshed out into a movie. And it's not just like, hey, we've got these random bits we're trying to shoehorn a story around. It's like, I think they wrote the story first, and it's like, okay, what jokes kind of help service this stuff to move it along. So
good.
I don't know. Yeah, I think it gets a little bit of a bad rap because I think it got a little bit panned. But again, it's like comedy is kind of hard to have like a universal love for.
Yeah, well, and we even look at stuff like MacGruber, that or the one that Andy Samberg did, Hot Rod. Is that it? Hot Rod. And
Hot Rod.
You look at these that people talk about so lovingly late, like now, but when they came out, they bombed and stuff. So yeah, I should give this a chance, and I think I will.
It's a great little, you're looking for just kind of something light. It's perfect for that,
Yeah. Geez, so now 3 movies you've given me that I need to watch. No, that's good. We don't have a listener list, but we have some listener suggestions that are their thoughts. Mrs. Diana Vandekamp said Barbie, which I totally agree with. Oscar Weincheck, I think is that Weincheck? Cabin in the Woods. Peter Beta says Lego Movie. Adam Gottschalk says Barbarian. Steve Primo, he's like one of my good friends, and I need to learn how to say his name. He said Cabin in the Woods as well, so I think that would probably be our number 1. Neil Endicott, Upgrade. Steve Ray said Mr. Brooks. I don't know if that's one of my favorites that kind of nobody talks about.
I never saw it. Yeah, I'm gonna put it on my list because the people that like it, I've never heard anything bad about it. It just was not. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was just like the year it came out or something. It just came and went, and then I just kind of forgot about it.
I don't
Because that's
think,
with Kevin Costner, right?
yeah, and I don't think it's like amazing, but I think you
Mhm.
watch it and you're like, oh shit, this is actually good, and it's a good
Yeah.
thriller, and in the it could have been on top 5 movies where the villain is the main character.
Hmm.
But and then Jack Fitzpatrick says Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Megan Bright says Hardcore Henry. Danietta Leffler, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Mark Sterling says Galaxy Quest, and Isaac Sandoval says The Town, which I
Nice.
can't disagree with any of those. I've actually seen all
Yeah,
of
those are
those.
all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jack Fitzpatrick, he's a friend from Australia. He says, I could not give an absolute fuck about seeing Beetlejuice, but then I loved it. So
Yeah.
that is awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for
I
yeah,
thought Beetlejuice was so much fun. But
yeah.
have you heard there's an idea that went around. It was like a bit of a missed opportunity that I thought, would have been so funny where gosh, I was listening. I just saw some podcast online, just a little snippet to try to get me to click through and listen to the whole thing. But one of the hosts was saying, essentially, what they should have done is have it be he's been waiting this whole time, and then Beetlejuice's number is finally called, and as soon as he goes up to the window, then Lydia says Beetlejuice, 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 and he gets taken out like right as soon as he's about to go up to the window. I was like,
That's
yes, that would have been perfect.
great.
That would have been so funny. It's like, all right, he's been waiting for 30 years, and now he gets there, and oh man, he would have been so mad.
Because wasn't that the end, like almost an end credit scene, like where he was
Yeah.
in the waiting room still with next to Bob or whatever? That's
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
that
It
would
was
have
like
been
a
funny.
light kind of mid-credit sequence where I think only just
Yeah.
kind of the primary players were on there, and then all of a sudden he's in the waiting room and just like
Yes.
3,337,000 or something.
Yeah.
Like, oh my
That's
gosh, that would have
amazing.
been perfect.
That would have been perfect. I think
Yeah.
of that. I literally think of that every time I take a number anywhere. I think of that. So
Yeah. Sign of a good
well,
movie.
so Drake, thank you so much. That was a great conversation. I didn't expect to be over an hour, but I really appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
No,
it's just so easy to talk to you, man.
Yeah, well, you are too, and whenever I do these, I kind of make sure I have time, because I don't want to be like, okay, hurry up, dude, talk about your movie.
Yeah.
So no, I have nowhere to be. So that was great. So thank you so much, and thanks for all the good work you do for the Film Vault. And
I appreciate it.
we will keep looking out for everything you do and say. So thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Appreciate it. It's been an absolute joy getting a chance to talk to you, not to take it too far, but I'm just like, oh man, I wish you lived closer so that I had like a new buddy to kind of talk film with. And all that fun
all
stuff,
of my friends live in the States, and I'm just like, if I didn't have my boys here or something, I would be over there and have all these friends, and well, all of you would meet me in person and be like, okay, who's this weirdo and why we let him cross the border? But no, I really appreciate it, and thank you. So, and we'll talk soon. We'll have to do this again, even if it's like next season or just for shits and giggles or something. So
yeah, definitely. And I'll let you know
Appreciate
once I see Lamb, and I'll give you a text on kind of my thoughts on some of the movies you were recommending. So
as soon as I see some of these, I will let you know as well. So awesome. All right. Thank you everyone for listening. And thank you, Drake, for being my first guest of season 2. You can follow along everywhere. I'm on Instagram, the Film Vultures. We're on, hopefully when I post this episode, Mr. Drake will share it in the story or whatever on the Film Vault. And and hope, because it's a good episode. But okay, bud. Right, we'll talk to you later.
Sounds good.
All right.
Adios. Bye.
Bye.